Hello, how are you today? Here's what I want you to do. Take a deep breath in. Yes, for real. Take a deep breath in. And just review your life thus far, focusing on two specific aspects. Number one, failures, embarrassments, resentments, things that went wrong for you. And number two, desires, goals, missions, and callings that were knocking on your door, but you did not answer. You did not have the courage to respond to that call because of the fear of the unknown. And now, take another deep breath in and do the second part of this visualization. Fast forward your life. Imagine you're 95 years old. Yeah, I wish you all grow old to the age of 95. Visualize you're 95 years old, but on your deathbed. I'm sorry to bring up the topic of death, but it's the ultimate reality there is, isn't it? I want you to visualize you're on your deathbed, you're reviewing your life once again, your journey here on planet Earth. And once again, I want you to do the same. Number one, think about the regrets of things not tried. And number two, of all the failures and embarrassments of things that didn't work out the way you wanted to. What would you be more afraid of? What would you be more worried about? See, death is the final destination, and all embarrassments, all failures, everything becomes irrelevant once you're dead. Agree? On the other side, the regret that I wish I should have tried this. I wish I could have lived my life differently. That is going to be one of the most toxic emotions ever, one of the most painful goodbyes ever. I'm reminded of Leo Tolstoy's famous novel, The Death of Ivan Ilyich, and in which the protagonist, Ivan Ilyich, is lying on his deathbed. And Ivan Ilyich, had lived a life where he was conforming to the desires of other people, not what he wanted to do. And before he breathed his last, he looked into his wife's eyes and asked her, what if my whole life was wrong? What if my whole life was wrong? And my single message here is this: please do not live your life in a way that you end up making this statement on your deathbed. What if my whole life was wrong? An Australian nurse called Bronnie Ware, who was in palliative care, and she was looking after people, tending to people who were dying, sick people in hospital, the elderly. She started randomly asking these people, tell me, what are your top regrets in life? If you could do things differently in your life, what would you do differently? And she started taking notes in a journal. And that journal then came on to be a best-selling book, which goes by the title of The Top 5 Regrets of Dying People. The number one regret, ladies and gentlemen, number one regret of dying people, and these are thousands of people interviewed by Bronnie Ware, was I wish I had the courage to lead a life true to myself and not what other people expected from me. I wish I had the courage to lead a life true to myself and not what others expected from me. This is mass opinion of people who are leaving this planet on their journey. And this is what we should actively work on. That should not be our story. This should not be how your and my story ends. And if you ask me personally, I'm okay with failures. I'm okay with regrets. But I'm more worried about not having tried something. Failure is acceptable. Embarrassments are acceptable. Mistakes are fine. But what will bother me the most is if I wanted to do something, and I felt strongly about it, is to not stepping forward. And what stops us, ladies and gentlemen, is the fear of the unknown. The famous American philosopher Henry David Thoreau, he said, most people, and we talked about the dead and we'll talk about the living also, most people alive are leading lives of quiet desperation, where they go about their daily chores, in the zombie zone that I call it. Slaves of social media, slaves of the new gadget we want to buy, and so many other things, right? But in quiet desperation, they find relief in venting off every now and then, but they will not address the root cause of the problem, because change requires courage. Change requires letting go of the things that you already know. And this leads us to a conditioning as a society where we become comfortable with regrets, but we are not comfortable with risks. And my message to all of you is, let your life be full of risks and not be full of regrets, because regret is more painful. Failure is okay. Failure is irrelevant on your deathbed. And what stops most people from achieving their highest potential is the fear of the unknown. Show of hands, how many of you are afraid of public speaking? Great. You're not afraid of public speaking. You're afraid of the unknown. You're afraid of the uncertainty. In fact, many surveys point out fear of public speaking is the #1 fear across the world. Fear of death is #2, which means some people would rather be dead than go on stage and expose themselves and be vulnerable. We're okay with dying, but not making ourselves vulnerable. How many of you are afraid of the dark? Show of hands, once again, afraid of the dark. All right. You're not afraid of the dark. You're afraid of the unknown, of what might happen. And systematically, the quality of our lives goes down because we overestimate our challenges and we underestimate our own ability to deal with those challenges. And I'm here to tell you this. You have within you the ability to deal with all challenges that life may throw at you. So stop living your life in the comfort zone. Move beyond and explore the full potential of your life. And most people end up being contented with complaining, venting off about how bad things are, playing the victim, and constantly complaining about what is wrong with their life, but not stepping forward and not taking charge. Because taking charge and stepping forward needs courage. Needs the courage to deal with the unknown. I personally know many people who are stuck in toxic, abusive relationships and they will not leave because they've been so long with that person and they cannot imagine a life without that person. We are so content with complaining because that's a process of venting off. I'm urging you to treat the root causes of these discontentments. The unknown is what we're most afraid of. And how does the unknown become the known? The subject of my talk is the art of stepping into the unknown. The art of stepping forward into something uncharted territory. How does the unknown become the known? To put it very simply, by taking the first step forward. No amount of theory, ladies and gentlemen, no amount of theory will lead you to discover, to make the unknown into the known. You need action. The famous German thinker Friedrich Engels, he said it well when he said, an ounce of action is greater than a ton of theory. An ounce of action is greater than a ton of theory. And this is the hardest part. The whole part of rediscovering yourself, or whatever you want to achieve, the new business that you want to launch, the book that you want to write, or new city that you want to move into, the new career reinvention that you desperately want to do, the hardest part of that entire process, ladies and gentlemen, is taking the first step. As I discovered in my recent skydiving experience in Las Vegas. Now this was self-inflicted, right? I decided to do this. It was not mandatory. And throughout many a times after the initial first step, as you can see in this picture right here, it was not a smooth ride. In fact, you will see my trainer Jim taking a lot of pleasure in clicking this photograph, right? Because he's laughing through his eyes if you look carefully, because of the amount of fun we're gonna have looking at my pictures. I can't even show you the video, right? Because my cheeks are flapping up and down like that. An incentive to lose weight it was, but you know, the hardest part of this whole exercise of jumping from 12,000 feet, and I'm a frequent flyer, so my brain was telling me, you're supposed to be sitting in the seat. You're not supposed to be going to the edge of the aircraft and jumping. Every neuron, every muscle in my body was telling me, you're doing the wrong thing. Why are you doing this? This whole thing was there. And the fun part was signing the documents, giving up my legal rights, that in case I die, the company's not liable for that. That was the fun part. Clicking selfies was the fun part. Doing a FB live video, you know, for my Facebook page followers was the fun part. You know, going to do this. Going up in the air was the fun part. Talking to fellow skydivers was the fun part. The hardest part was moving to the edge of the aircraft and then looking downwards and actually making the jump, if you develop the courage to do that. And I think that's how life works in general. This is my belief. My life has been a series of jumping into the unknowns, and I'm not done yet with this thing, but this is my belief. Most people are not able to make that leap because they have this false expectation. I want to be able to see all the way to the end, only then I'll start my journey. And that expectation, ladies and gentlemen, will stop you, withhold you from pursuing your greatness. No one ever sat down in one room and was clear about the entire part of your journey. Talk to any entrepreneur, any leader, any person who made a difference. They were comfortable with uncertainty. They were comfortable with ambiguity, and that's what I want you to do as well in your lives. But this talk is not about skydiving. This talk is about something in my life that I consider more riskier than skydiving. And that was leaving a carefully built career across 5 continents over a decade in the hospitality industry, leaving all that behind and hitting the reboot button in 2007 and starting all over again. If you ever feel stuck in your life, I don't care how successful you are in what you do already. I don't care how long you've already been doing it. I don't care what's withholding you back. But if you feel discontent, remember Bronnie Ware's research? Number one regret of dying people is, I wish I had the courage to lead a life true to myself and not what others expected from me. I was comfortable before 2000. Very, very comfortable indeed. And please remember, comfort can be your biggest enemy ever. Comfort can stop you in taking the risks. It's when you work from the startup mentality, is the beginner's mentality, you make a difference in your life. So in 2007, I decided to leave it all behind, quit my job, leave my career path, move back to India after having spent a decade abroad, and start all over again. And this is my message to you. And I started with schools, I started with rural areas, with colleges, where I was, in the city that I moved back to. Start wherever you are. Do the best with what you can, right? And do the best with the skills that you have at that moment. And as your skills improve, do better. But please, please, please do not withhold your greatness for the false expectation that I will start when the timings are perfect, because the timings are never, ever going to be perfect, right? Start with what you have, whatever resources are available. The billion-dollar corporation Google, if you go to Stanford University, you will see in the museum, Google's first server, ladies and gentlemen, was made out of Lego blocks. They did not have the kind of money to buy a proper server. So they took together hard disks and connected them together using Lego blocks. It is still there in the Stanford Museum. This is how a billion-dollar corporation started. What are you waiting for, right? So my message here to you, the lessons from my journey. Number one, don't be afraid to start all over again. Don't be afraid to hit the reboot button. Just because you've come long enough on a path, just because you're successful on a given path, is not reason enough for you to not leave that path and start afresh. Two roads diverged in the woods, Robert Frost wrote. And I took the one less traveled, and that has made all the difference. Develop the courage within you to take the road less traveled. Develop the courage within you to reboot if you feel that you're stuck, to discover new dimensions of yourself. Life is too short to live to the expectations of other people. And guess what? You can never make all the other people happy. Never, ever. I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt who said it beautifully about criticism. She said, if you're afraid of criticism, do the following. Number one, don't do anything. Number two, don't say anything. Number three, don't be anything. And then you'll never be criticized. I'm just adding it on, tweaking it a little bit. You'll still be criticized for not having done anything. The critics will always be there. So be true to yourself and do not be afraid to start all over again. Number two, don't wait for the perfect resources. No one ever who made a difference to the world. Elon Musk is a gentleman who's pioneering rocket science and thinking of. Elon Musk feels humanity is stuck on planet Earth. So he's busy finding us a new home in the unknown on planet Mars. And this was a gentleman who did not start with perfect resources. No major corporation, the journey of no great individual ever started with perfect resources. So if you are someone who's waiting for perfect resources to show up, give up that expectation, do the best with what you have, and see the resources show up for you. And don't wait until you have it all figured out. That's the third thing I want you to be careful of, right? No one ever had it all figured out. Do you think Mahatma Gandhi had it all figured out, lying on that platform in South Africa when he was thrown out of the train for traveling first class? Do you think he had it all figured out, how he wanted to be the pioneer of India's independence struggle? No. Do you think Steve Jobs had it all figured out when he co-founded Apple with Steve Wozniak? And don't be afraid, if you are an outsider to your field, don't be afraid to step into the unknown and conquer that field and do what you must do. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Jobs was not an engineer. The founder of this trillion-dollar corporation was not an engineer himself. His closest friend and co-partner, Steve Wozniak, was an engineer. He ventured into the unknown, right? And resources show up. So do not wait until you have it all figured out, because you may be waiting for the rest of your life. And I'll tell you this from personal experience. There is a great conspiracy out there for people who dare to step forward into the direction of their dreams and their callings. There's a great, great conspiracy to help you, to assist you. You will see research, you will see in your own personal experience as you move forward into the unknown. People, resources, connections, so many things that you never anticipated will show up to help you complete your journey, but it is conditional on the one fact that you step forward. There's a lot of talk about the law of attraction these days, and I'm a big believer of it myself. So visualize, believe, and what you want to achieve. But if you split the word attraction, the last 5 letters are action. The law of attraction only works if you take action. The universe will only assist you if you take action. That's the great conspiracy. It has taken me places, and I hope for every single one of you out there who dares to step forward into the unknown, it will take you places as well. And you know what the most exciting part about stepping into the unknown is? It's not the fame that you earn, it's not the money, it's not the goals that you achieve, it's not the accolades, it's not the pictures in the newspaper, it's not your social media followers. Those are all side effects. The greatest part about stepping into the unknown, ladies and gentlemen, is who you become in the process. It is who you become in the process. It is how you change in the process. It is a brand new person that you become. So do it for yourself. You owe it to yourself to reinvent. We update our mobile phones every now and then. We buy the new gadgets. We buy new technology to stay up to date. How often do you let go of your old beliefs and step forward into the unknown to rediscover yourselves? When I started motivational speaking, I had no previous experience whatsoever. When I first stood up to speak, I stood up and my brain sat down. And that was my first experience. But here I am in front of you, reminding you, it's not the money, it's not the fame, it's not the social media followers, it's who you become in the process of this transformation. I can say the same for my skydiving, post-skydiving experience, right? A little turbulence on the airplanes does not bother me anymore. If you pushed yourself way outside the comfort zone, you can take those little things. And I can say the same for my public speaking experience as well. It's been the most rewarding journey ever of my life these last 11 years as an international speaker. It's not about the fame, it's not about the social media followers, it's not about the money. It's who I've become in the process. And no taxes, no thefts, no demonetization can take that wealth away from me because it's wired in me now. I'm a brand new person. So if you're feeling stuck, whatever it happens to be, find out what your first step is and take that first leap of faith. You don't have to see all the way through. Just take that first step. Happy exploring. And I'll finish with the words of the great Indian poet, Rabindranath Tagore, Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore, who said, "Spring has gone, summer has passed, and winter is here. And the song that I meant to sing remains unsung because I have spent my days stringing and unstringing my instrument. Do not spend the rest of your lives calibrating your instruments. Go out and sing your song." Thank you very much.